My name is James, and for the past 15 years, I've honorably served as a naval commander. It's a challenging life. Picture being away for months, roused by blaring sirens instead of your spouse's gentle chuckle, eating packaged meals instead of home-cooked dinners, and constantly wondering if you'll return safely. Yet, I cherish my role. The honor of donning my uniform and protecting my nation sustained me through the hardest days. Still, there was another anchor, my wife, Sophie. She was my rock, my reason to return unharmed. Every mission, every restless night at the base was endurable because I knew she'd be there waiting. I could envision her warm smile, her eyes sparkling with joy when I stepped through the door after long absences. Those rare moments spent with her felt like entering a different realm, a place where I was not just a commander, but a devoted husband, cherished and needed. I built my life on conviction that no matter how far I roamed, Sophie and I were unbreakable. I never doubted her fidelity or questioned her devotion, until the day I returned early, unannounced, and discovered how mistaken I was. I'll never forget the moment I received the news, an unexpected 5-day leave. For a naval commander like me, such breaks were scarce, a precious chance to escape the rigid routine of life at sea and reunite with the one person who made it all worthwhile. The drive home felt endless, not just because of the distance, but due to the eager anticipation. I replayed cherished memories, shared laughter, quiet evenings on the sofa, and the way Sophie would fling her arms around me after deployment. Those memories kept me grounded during months apart. Lately, though, our phone calls have felt different. Her voice lacked its usual warmth, and her laughter, once so heartfelt, sounded strained, empty. When I asked, she insisted everything was fine, but something seemed amiss. I reassured myself it was nothing, perhaps stress from managing alone while I served. She just needs me, I thought. Once I'm home, everything will be fine. As my car wound through familiar streets, memories flooded my mind. I pictured Sophie greeting me at the door, her face glowing as if I were her entire world. I imagined her laughter, which always eased the burdens I carried, and us sitting together, her head resting on my shoulder, savoring the quiet comfort of being home with someone you love. But as we turned onto our street, I noticed her car, a reliable compact, wasn't in its usual spot by the driveway. At first, I dismissed it. Perhaps she'd gone for groceries or errands. Then I saw the curtains were drawn, which was unlike her. Sophie loved sunlight, especially in the mornings. I could almost hear her saying how daylight cleared her mind when she worked on her writing, sitting by the window with her laptop as light streamed in. Was she even home? I leaned forward, peering at the house as the taxi slowed. The house was eerily silent. Stepping inside, I called Sophie. My voice echoed in the stillness. No response. At first, I thought she might be out running an errand, but something felt wrong. My senses sharpened, a reflex honed from years in Navy. I began noticing details I might have overlooked. By the door, a pair of sneakers caught my attention. They weren't mine, too large for Sophie, and not a style she'd ever choose. My chest tightened, but I urged myself to stay calm. Perhaps they belonged to a visitor, a relative stopping by. Then I detected it. A faint, unmistakable scent of cologne, one I didn't recognize. It wasn't mine, and I knew every product I used. This was unfamiliar, alien. The hairs on my neck stood up, my instincts urging me to stay alert, to brace for anything. I moved deeper into the house, my steps cautious and deliberate. Sophie, I called again, louder. Still nothing. The silence felt ominous, wrong. As I approached our bedroom, faint sounds emerged from behind the closed door, a murmur, then a soft chuckle. I paused, my heart pounding. I told myself I was imagining things, that my long absence was clouding my judgment. But the laughter came again, low and intimate, my hands clenched into fists. Without thinking, I pushed the door open. The scene before me seared into my memory, a moment that will haunt me forever. There was Sophie, the woman I trusted above all, entangled with a stranger in our bed. The man was tall, broad-shouldered, and unmistakably not me. His dark skin stood out, not because it mattered in the scope of betrayal, but because it made the moment feel even more surreal, like a scene from someone else's life. Time seemed to halt. My mind screamed to act, shout, confront, demand answers, but my body froze. I stood there, staring, as the weight of betrayal crushed me from within. I had faced danger and chaos in my career, but nothing prepared me for this pain, this heartbreak. They both froze when they saw me. Sophie's face paled, her eyes wide with shock and guilt. The man scrambled to cover himself, muttering something incoherent. The roar in my ears drowned out everything. My eyes locked onto Sophie's, and for a fleeting moment, I glimpsed the woman I'd fallen in love with. But that vision shattered instantly, replaced by the stark truth of her betrayal. I couldn't speak or move. My naval training kicked in, leaving me frozen, engulfed by the heavy silence that followed. "Get dressed," I said at last, my voice low but steady. "Both of you, meet me in the living room." Sophie could meet my gaze. Her face was ashen, her hands trembling as she scrambled to put on her clothes. She looked like a child caught in a lie, but this was no minor misstep. This was our marriage, our trust, broken into fragments. The man, however, surprised me. He didn't flinch or try to justify himself. He stood quietly for a moment, then said, "I'm sorry. I'll leave if you want." "No." I snapped, my tone sharper now. "You're staying. I need answers." He nodded without protest, his expression unreadable. I couldn't tell if he felt remorse, indifference, or just acceptance. As I turned to leave the room, their silence weighed on me like a heavy burden. My mind raced, but my body moved on instinct. I sat in the living room, staring at the bare coffee table, waiting for them to join me. When they finally appeared, Sophie perched on the far end of the couch, avoiding my eyes. The man took the chair opposite me, his hands clasped tightly, as if bracing for judgment. I looked at them both, my heart heavy with anger, confusion, and pain. This wasn't the homecoming I'd imagined. This wasn't the life I thought we shared. My face remained calm. Years of naval discipline had taught me to stay composed in chaos. But inside, I was a tempest. Fury, disbelief, and betrayal battled within me. My voice emerged low, deliberate, each word precise. "How long?" I asked, staring directly at Sophie. How did this begin, and most importantly, why? The room fell silent, save for the faint ticking of the clock on the wall. Sophie's eyes stayed fixed on her hands, clenched tightly in her lap. Her breathing was unsteady, as if she were struggling to hold herself together. Then she spoke, her voice quivering. "It started as a friendship," she said. "I didn't mean for it to go this far. He was just someone to talk to." "Someone to talk to?" I echoed, my tone icy, almost scornful. "Is that all it was?" "No," she admitted, her words barely audible. Tears streamed down her face. "At first, he was just a friend. You were always away, and I felt so alone, so abandoned." "Abandoned?" I said, my voice rising slightly, bitterness creeping in. "I was out there, risking my life, working to provide for us, and you felt abandoned? I called you every chance I got, and yet you were looking for someone else to talk to?" She flinched at my words, but met my gaze this time. "You don't understand. I didn't want this to happen." But days turned into weeks, weeks into months, and I felt invisible. Every time you left, the silence in this house was unbearable. He was just there. My fists tightened on the table, but I forced myself to stay seated. "So you crossed a line," I said, my voice flat. "You let this stranger into our home, into our bed, because you felt lonely?" She nodded slowly, her shoulders shaking with silent sobs. "I didn't mean to hurt you. I didn't plan for this. I swear." I turned my gaze to the man beside her. He sat quietly, his face a mix of regret and resignation. I didn't need him to speak. His presence alone answered questions I hadn't yet asked. But I couldn't stop myself. "And you," I said, my voice sharper. "Did you know she was married?" "Yes," he replied, his tone steady but heavy with regret. "I knew. I should have kept my distance, but I didn't. I'm sorry. That's all I can say." "Sorry," I said, my voice thick with contempt. "You think that fixes this?" He didn't respond, and I didn't expect him to. My attention shifted back to Sophie, the woman I had trusted with my heart. The weight of her betrayal pressed down on me, like an anchor pulling me under. She spoke again, her voice breaking. I know I've shattered your trust. I know I've hurt you. But please, believe me when I say it wasn't about you. It was about me, my weakness, my mistakes. I'm so sorry. Her words lingered, but they felt empty, insignificant compared to the pain she'd caused. I leaned back in my chair, exhaling slowly, trying to process her confession. But deep down, I knew there was no sense to be found in this. After hearing their admissions, a strange numbness overtook me. It wasn't anger, not yet, nor was it sadness. It was as my heart and mind had shut down, unable to bear the weight of the moment. I stood from the couch and looked at them one last time. Sophie, the woman I'd entrusted with everything, sat with her head bowed, tears streaming silently down her face. The man, a stranger in every sense, sat awkwardly beside her, his hands folded, as if waiting for me to lash out. But I didn't. I lacked the energy for a confrontation. I can't do this anymore, I said, my voice hollow. I can't do this anymore, I said softly, my voice calm in a way that surprised even me. No yelling, no begging, just those 6 words. I turned and headed to the bedroom, the same room where this betrayal had unfolded behind my back. Inside, I grabbed a duffel bag and began packing. I wasn't thinking about where I'd go or what I'd do next. I just knew I couldn't stay there, not for another moment. Every corner of the house felt stained, as if it soaked up to the seat and was choking me with it. I packed swiftly, clothes, toiletries, a few personal belongings. For a moment, I paused by the nightstand, staring at a framed photo from our wedding day. Sophie's smile was so bright, and I looked so joyful. It struck me then how far we'd drifted from that moment, how much we'd lost. I left the photo behind. It didn't belong in my new reality. I walked past him in the living room without a word. Sophie started to speak. Perhaps an apology, perhaps a plea, but I didn't pause to listen. I opened the front door, stepped outside, and closed it behind me. As I got into the car and began driving, the numbness started to fade, replaced by a deep, searing pain in my chest. My mind raced, replaying every moment of our marriage, searching for where it had gone wrong. Was it my fault? Could I have done more to ease her loneliness? But every time I considered forgiveness, the image of them together in our bedroom flashed in my mind, and I knew there was no turning back. Over the next few days, I settled into a small motel near the naval base. It wasn't much, a cramped room with a squeaky bed and faded wallpaper. But it was peaceful, and that was all I needed. I spent hours staring at the walls, trying to make sense of everything. Filing for divorce wasn't an easy choice. For years, Sophie had been my foundation, the one person I believed would always stand by me. But now, every memory of us felt corrupted. The laughter, the closeness, the vows we'd built our life on. She had destroyed that trust. I couldn't imagine sharing a home, a bed, or a life with her anymore. People say time heals all wounds, but I knew this was a scar that time could mend. Trust is like glass. Once it's shattered, you can try to piece it together, but the cracks remain, a constant reminder of what was broken. I couldn't live with that. Not with her. Not in that house. Not after what I'd seen and heard. So, I did the only thing I could. I hired a lawyer, signed the papers, and began the process of moving on, letting go of Sophie, letting go of us, letting go of the life I thought we were creating together. It hurt more than words can express, but deep down, I knew it was the right choice. It's strange, isn't it? I've faced storms so fierce they set the sky ablaze. I've gazed into the dark abyss of the sea at night, wondering if I'd see another dawn. I've survived battles that could have ended me. Yet here I am, defeated not by an enemy, but by the woman I thought was my partner for life. I've spent my career protecting others, being the pillar for my country, my team. But I couldn't protect my marriage. I didn't see the fractures forming beneath the surface until it was too late. At sea, the rules are clear. You follow orders, rely on your crew, trust the chain of command. There's certainty in that, a purpose that's unwavering. But in a marriage, there's no guide for betrayal, No blueprint for rebuilding yourself after someone you love shatters your faith. The pain lingers, and it probably always will. But I made a vow to myself. I won't let my guard down again. I won't leave my heart open to such betrayal. At sea, you learn quickly that carelessness can cost you everything. I've learned that lesson in my marriage too. And so, I move forward one day at a time. The ocean calls me back, as it always does. Out there, the waves are merciless, the storms unyielding, but at least they're honest. They don't pretend to be anything other than what they are. Out there, I know where I stand, and for now, that's enough.